How the heck are you guys? I am Fastidious. Welcome to my channel and welcome to Should You Summon? I am answering that question. Should you yourself summon on this week's 15x Special Ancient Summoning banner for Valderon and then also Admiral Claw. It's really the Valderon banner. Let's call it what it is. No time for an intro. Let's get right into it. I want to be short, sweet, and to the point for this one because this banner is coming soon. I want to get you that information as quickly as we can. I'm going to one take this. I want to get right to the meat. So we're not going to do full kit breakdowns. I will give you, a little zhuzh, a little description, a little overview of the kit. But the key thing I want to do is really lean into these tier ratings. Here we are on my website. Let me make myself a little smaller. Fastidious.gg. Definitely go check it out. The link is in the description of the video. You'll see already Valderon Definitive SSS. We'll go through all these game modes. And then we have got way down here. Where is he? He should be at about a B+. Yes, we've got Admiral Claw right above my head over here. He's very mid. He's definitely not a bad hero, but he's definitely not that good of a hero. Let's get into all of it. I'm going to break down, the general stuff of their kit. We'll go through all their tier ratings. And then at the end, I will answer the question, should you summon? And I will answer within two lenses, right? What kind of player you are. So how deep into the game are you? Are you early game, like you still haven't beaten any of the Gear 8 18s? Are you mid game? You're working on those 18 through 19, 19 through 20, 21. Are you late game? You're beating your 21s and now you're focusing on like a 50k guild boss 1. Maybe you're looking at those gear dungeons, excuse me. Or are you end game, right? You're just focused on guild boss 2. You finished all the gear dungeons. Maybe it's a guild boss 2 and maybe a little epilogue, a little GVG. People were asking me how I would delineate those. So I'm going to answer for all those kind of player types, early, mid, late, and end. And then all the spender types. Are you a free to play? Are you a low spender? Maybe up to like 30 bucks a month. Are you a medium spender? Talking, 50 bucks a month, 60 bucks a month. Are you a dolphin? You're spending at least 100 bucks a month. Are you a whale? You're spending like over 250 bucks a month. Or are you a kraken? You don't need a description if you are one. You're spending hundreds and hundreds a month, if not more. Or are you a dragon? Shout out to Sassy. Let's get after it. Let's start with the easier of the two. Admiral Claw is not that good. Basically, he's got this range. Don't get confused, though. It goes to like that arrogance, absent, whatever range. The 3x2 with the extra 2 in the middle in front. They're saying he's a splash attack hero. He does damage escalating. He does arena mastery. In my opinion, the only truth to these three descriptors, technically they're all accurate. He definitely is damage escalating. He is able to ramp up his attack in a pretty cool way. He increases penetration from his talent. You can see it's going to happen with HP lost up to 30%. Very chaotic of him. He definitely seems to thrive mostly in these chaotic situations. That kind of requires a Carnelian, maybe like you're running this full chaotic team. And at that point, are you really bringing Claw into that team? He does have some potential for certain things, but because he's not like straight up AoE and he's not straight up single target bursts, he's got kind of splashy weird stuff. I don't find his damage to so shine in so many places. It's kind of fine. He's got a cool thing here when he's got the Bloodstorm Annihilator. He increases his attack. He also makes it so he's slower, but the reason I wanted to key in on that is when you see these chaotic Nightmare Fighters, Legendary, he's a later addition to the game, maybe he came half a year ago, 7 months ago or something, you'd expect higher attack than this. 4,923 base attack. Compare that to like a Valeria at like 61, 6,200, a Salazar at 6,500, Ares is at about 6,200. It's not really up to snuff. He can get away with it though, so he is better than you would think because he's got this Annihilator state where he increases his attack and because he's got penetrating damage, so he's ignoring more and more defense. Basically for every 5% penetration, he's ignoring 5% of the defense. This is making it easier for him to exceed the enemy's defense, to have him pushing his attack up and essentially pushing the enemy's defense down. You could think of it that way. So he's certainly not bad, but I do find the kit a bit confused. He does this interesting thing on his ultimate where he pulls the enemies in. It's kind of annoying because sometimes he pulls them past the tanks, which can be very frustrating, but in certain content he can really shine. Like in normal AMR, and I say normal because if you didn't see it, I streamed it today. Go check it out. I did a full run through on Forerunner. This is coming to global next month for stages 19, 20, 21, and 22 of Artifact Material Raid. I'm gonna have to speculate about that in a second, but for normal Artifact Material Raid, I think he's fantastic. I think he's one of the better heroes in the game, really easy to use, and Nightmare is a very good faction for it. If you get him early on, he'll be a very strong progression hero for you. I could see him being quite strong for 19, 20, 21, and 22, but it's really 19 and 21 that you use the melee units. And for that to truly shine, you need proper AoE. And as you will see, he doesn't really do proper AoE. You can see this, right? He's going to pull them in, and then he does one singular burst of AoE damage. Only 5 enemies. You're going to want to be hitting 8 to 10 enemies minimum, I would say. It is very cheap. He can do it a lot. Over here, he gets a little splash damage, but look at this splash damage, right? These skill ups are only going to improve the damage to the main target. That goes up to 120%. The splash damage, though, is only 2 nearby enemies. It's 25%. I don't really love it. He's got this nice Soul Lasher thing that deals some extra damage and some stun, but again, it's single target. There's not enough AoE in his kit, and he's not good enough with single target damage to truly be someone that shines. We can click through the other things. You kind of already get it, though. He kind of cuts his HP down. That boosts his penetration, which in turn essentially makes him hit harder. He can enter these Bloodstorm Annihilator states where he does extra damage and he increases his attack. But all in all, he kind of just is what he is, right? He's also going to have damage increases. There's nothing where he's really shining in the game. I'm never seeing him in arena. If you guys are seeing him in some endgame arena that I don't know about, let me know. You know, the Valderon who we're about to talk about is completely dominant in endgame arena and will carry you the whole way there. I don't see Admiral Claw being anything but a progression champ for the vast majority of people. I will say a nice thing in the arena for chaotic units typically is you get something like a damage increase or a cost reduction. He just gets an attack range increase. It's not good enough because he's 18 cost. If this made him 13 cost, hey, maybe we'd be cooking. Let's compare him very quickly to someone like Valeria, who's quite similar, right? She's not ancient exclusive, but she's also a nightmare fighter with dual faction membership and chaotic. We go to Valeria. First off, the stats are off the charts. She's just amazing. She's a fantastic single target. She certainly is an arena mastery. You can see her arena cost is reduced by 4, so she's only 13 costs. Here, Claw is all the way up at 18 with no reduction, just a little range. It's not good enough. This is the kind of hero that is good enough. In my opinion, Claw is the kind of hero that is not. If you're itching for a nightmare chaotic kind of fighter person, the only thing Claw has over Valeria, by the way, is just going to be his range. But if you're itching for that better version, Valeria should be coming soon on a banner with Numera. Before I go into Valderon, I said I would break down every single rating, all the tiers, all that good stuff. So let's scroll up here. Let me show you. We'll go to the bottom here. I keep going out of the asset window. There we go. So you can see Claw here overall, he's coming in at a B+. I think that's fair. Don't think he's worse than a B+. He's certainly pretty darn good. Guild Boss 1, he can hit really hard. Not to the level that you want, but for progression and just for being a member of like your nightmare team, or if for some reason you've got a Cornelian and a Valderon and you're lucky enough to run a chaotic team, you could do that. I will say in general, people ask me, is chaotic meta for Guild Boss 1 for the Drake? Honestly, no. If you're at the point where you could run a good enough comp for a 50k of chaotic, I would be shocked if you didn't have a better nightmare comp sitting right there. That would take some really weird, really specific niche luck. But he is good. You're going to run him as a nightmare unit the vast majority of the time here. He's a great unit. You need 4 of them. He can hit pretty darn hard. Again, it's not hard enough, but it's pretty, you know, for very late and endgame stuff. It's certainly good though. Guild Boss 2, he can be pretty solid. There's a lot of penetration in his kit. Absolutely, you need a Carnelian if you're going to do something like this. He's going to kill himself, basically. Otherwise, that boss starts hitting really hard. And anyway, once you pass, if you're doing like Apocalypse 2, Apocalypse 1, he'd be fine. He'd actually would be good, especially if you want to run him and like Valderon together for Apocalypse 1. They could, I'm sure, do the whole thing, no problem. But quite frankly, Valderon can do the whole thing by himself anyway. We'll talk about that in a second. But it's nice to have that penetration on Guild Boss 2. But once you pass like 50k on APOC 2, they're hitting so hard. I would think between the damage Claw's doing to himself and then the damage, the big AoEs the boss starts putting out, Semros starts putting out, I think you would be toast. Geared 1, he's like okay. The defense pen is good. The range is nice. Nightmare is off meta but viable to run as you progress through. He can be something, but it's not too special. Gear 2, he's absolutely average. He's really, you'll just use him through 18 if you need him. He's the kind of hero, guys. This is basically this is the long of the short, okay? The short of the long, however you want to say it. If you get Claw within like your first 30 days, that's pretty cool. Or it depends how far you're progressing. If you get him before you beat all the Gear 19s or something, he'll help you progress through some stuff. After that, I think you're going to outgrow the heck out of him, honestly. Gear 2 is the perfect example. Gear 4, near dang useless. Very, very, very early stages, you could probably get away with it. Gear 5, there's some general viability here. He's outclassed by a ton, but definitely for the couple early stages here, he actually is viable. He'll fall off a cliff later on, and you will need someone super potent like a Valeria or an Ardia or an Arrogance or something like this, or just run a platformer like a Silas, maybe a Sargok. He's not gonna cut it later on. AMR, he's very good. Not S+, he's not in the, you know, the stratosphere of like a Valkyria or an Ardia, something like this, but he's excellent. Void Rift, he's fine. A is very solid. Campaign, he's absolutely fine. Chaotics aren't really gonna get too much play in campaign. Faction Trials, he's fantastic. He pulls them in. He's really kind of made for Faction Trials. If you know, like stage 10, 11, 12, for Nightmare specifically, we don't have a Chaotic Faction Trials. You get guys kind of walking up here and all your guys are down here. He'll pull them in and you'll quickly kill them. He is incredible for this. One of the very, very, very best heroes. Like him, Hot Sit, Arrogance. These are the best heroes in Nightmare for Faction Trials. Very specific, but he works. Conqueror, he's completely fine. He works. It's not proper AoE. He does do damage. His stats are fine. You can put him behind the wall because of the range, but he's not going to be anything close to meta. Styx, completely mediocre. Guild Wars, just, I think, unusable. He's going to pull the heroes back. We're giving him an F here just so you guys know. He's going to make your team worse. It's not even like he's a neutral. He's going to be pulling the the enemies through, and then they're going to quickly kill him and move along. Like, you need them focused on your tank. Here we've got single target. This is where he'll shine the most in arena. Pretty good. He's certainly not bad. Don't make me think he's bad. Don't think that I'm trying to say he's bad in arena. He's fine. He's just not some master of arena or whatever. Maybe it just means that he has the arena mastery skill to begin with. I don't know. AoE, he's okay. There you go. B+ hero, simply put. Let's get into the good stuff. I am not going to spend a ton of time breaking down his kit. It is very confusing. I'm going to give you the overview of how it works. People always ask me why I don't have a Valderon guide. I have a Valderon guide. It's the most viewed Valderon guide in the world. Go check it out. Just search Watcher of Realms Valderon. It's going to be the first hit. Search Fastidious Valderon. I go into all the nitty-gritty of the craziness in his kit. It is crazy, but it's so good. What I would tell you is, for endgame, there's very niche specific uses where he's an absolute hero. You'll see that when we go through the tier list, where he's just completely a god. If you get him before the endgame, you're looking at your team right here. This is the difference between Valderon and like an Ingrid or a Praetus, who I do still think are the better heroes. But Valderon, for progression, this is your entire team. You don't need anything else. You have Valderon. You don't need to run he gets no real benefit from his Lord skill from running chaotic units. It's all about him. And he can do it all himself. He won't die. He's just going to stack. He's the tankiest guy. He's the hardest hitter. He will carry you the entire way to the promised land. He will carry you through so much content, you won't believe it. If you had a good Infernal team and a good Piercer team, or even Nightmare team, something very meta for Guild Boss 1, and you develop that, you could get away with your second team being Valderon and then some random other pieces. Doesn't even have to be a single chaotic unit in there. That's how crazy strong this guy is. He can carry you through like the entire campaign through. He can actually do work in Gear Aid 1. Gear Aid 2, he can do like so much you'd be actually shocked. He'll have to do only one side later on, but he can do it. Gear Aid 3, obviously unusable. Gear Aid 5, he's the complete GOAT. Artifact Endure Aid, he'll do like the entire thing for you. Literally, he can be your tank and your DPS. The list goes on and on. This is kind of what I want to key in on before I get into all of it. I'm going to give my thing at the end, but if you are anything but deep into the late game, this is the hero. It's like him and Praetus. He won't even put the team on his back because he doesn't need the team. He is the team. He is the ultimate one-man wrecking crew. He is crazy. You can see burst damage and unkillable. That kind of sums it up. He's got the extra tile of range at base. Truly fantastic stuff. His ultimate is just a giant circle all around him of death, essentially is what I describe it as. His whole kit is based around two things: Chaotic Annihilation and Chaotic Vitality. How do you get Chaotic Vitality? It comes during his ultimate. He's got a key mechanic that is unique only to him and Uridin in the entire game called Potent Surge. Essentially, that rage bar to do his ultimate fills up, but for those two heroes, it can fill up again and it fills up gold. When that happens, you get kind of like a super ultimate, like an improved ultimate. So instead of doing this normal thing here where he gets one stack of Chaotic Vitality, which he does hurt himself, lose some HP, but he gets a huge attack boost and some nice crit damage, he'll get 2 stacks. On top of that, he'll put out some major physical vulnerability, 20%, and it leads to just a ton of Chaotic Annihilation. So you'll see his basic attacks have a 25% chance to trigger Chaotic Annihilation. This is not your grandma's basic attack here. 270% damage to one enemy, and then 20% of that damage dealt spread out to all the other enemies. It is crazy. The lower his HP, the higher chance he has to trigger this. He is so good at keeping his HP low, but not dying. It is fantastic. You can get this all the way up to a 50% chance when his HP is 30% or lower. This is his normal basic attack. Who cares? If we go again here, and I want to just explain it to you, where is it actually hiding out? Where are we getting to? Oh yes, Karma of the Fallen. So this is an interesting thing in this kit that kind of really prevents him from dying unless he's absolutely getting bludgeoned. So he gets Karma of the Fallen. As long as it's less than 3 stacks, he can prevent any incoming fatal damage, and he'll get an HP restore. What happens then, though, is he's going to get more Karma of the Fallen. So basically, you're in this constant balancing act. When he dies or he retreats, he's going to accept all of those Karma of the Fallen stacks, and it's going to increase his redeploy time. So just don't let this guy die, and you're kind of cooking with gas. The Karma of the Fallen keeps protecting him, protecting him, protecting him. It does have a negative, right? It's going to reduce his attack, reduce his damage, but it's making him the tankiest boy of all time because he's just not receiving fatal damage. It's very, very good, you know, so he can last by himself very long into battles, and that works perfectly, as you're going to see when we go into the tier list, in all the places he absolutely shines. I want to show you also, he's very good at building rage for himself when he's doing a chaotic annihilation, so his like souped up basic, and he hits a target, it's going to restore rage. And when an ally on the battlefield dies, he restores rage. So he doesn't even, it's not even that he doesn't care of this team. He almost wants his team to die because he's going to get more rage. Basically, the key thing here, though, is when you do get these triggers of chaotic annihilation, which keep in mind is potentially every other hit. If he's at 30% HP or lower, he's just going to keep the rage coming and coming and coming. This makes it easy to cycle double ult builds ups, right? To actually get the benefit of Potent Surge, let that bar fill up twice, because it goes down to 900 costs. When you're getting 30 extra rage basically every other hit, it's a very nice thing. He's got that typical 2.6 basic attack interval, so you could get this guy down to easily 1.8 seconds. And then the very not so far-fetched, get him towards that 1.3, cutting that thing in half. A lot of people run him in like that 1.4 to 1.6 range. Super duper strong, very, very good. A lot of people might already have Valderon and wonder about Awakenings. Let's talk about it. His Awaken level 1, he gains 1 stack of Chaotic Vitality initially on deployment. Remember, he gets one of these when he does his ultimate. If he does his Potent Surge ultimate, he gets 2. He can have max 2 stacks. This thing lasts for 10 seconds. He's going to lose 10% of his HP. That's fine. It's going to help him actually make his way down to where he needs to be to get the maximum benefit, the higher trigger chance on the Chaotic Annihilation, and all the other good stuff that comes from his Lord skill, which I just realized I didn't even talk about. But basically, you get it. When he's at 30% HP or less, he's going to get big damage boosts, all that crazy stuff. There's all the, I'm not even going to just read through it. Everything that goes everything that goes on here is just like, how can Valderon deal more damage, right? He's deployed, damage equal to 50% on deployment, increases his damage by 30%, reduces damage received, so on and so on and so on. He's just Valderoning everywhere, right? He is truly the one-man wrecking crew. You'll see initial deployment, you get this Chaotic Vitality. While that is nice, the only place you need it instantaneously, right, truly is going to be in PvP content, specifically Arena. He is a total god in single target Arena and also extremely good in AoE. So in those situations, if you're very Arena minded, if you're a big spender, quite frankly, then you can care about the A1. Otherwise, I don't really care. The A2 is fantastic. Let's get more base attack. He already has enormous base attack at 6649. That will put him up towards 7,000 at 6949. And then a key thing here is he's going to give all faction team members, so all other chaotic units, 5% increased damage. This is a nice one. The A3 is outrageous. So the A3 is when he goes to a whole nother level, when he has stacks of Chaotic Vitality, which remember last 10 seconds. And then if you get over here, I believe it goes up to 20 seconds, the one from the ultimate, not from the Awakenings. He is going to, holy moly, ignore 50% of the target's defense. Keep in mind at this point, you already had him A2, so already his attack is almost 7,000. Now he's ignoring half the defense. He just wipes everything. Facing an A3 plus Valderon in Arena is a vile thing. Now, how about he ignores another 8%? So now he's ignoring 58% of the defense, right? Whenever he does Chaotic Vitality, with the base 8% he gets always from the penetration. And then the A5, when he does trigger his Chaotic Annihilation, he's going to increase his attack speed for 130 seconds. Remember, if you have him at 30% HP or lower, it's a 50-50 proposition. Every hit that he's going to trigger Chaotic Annihilation, you're going to basically get 100% uptime on increased 130 attack speed. I will say the total game-breaking one is A3, but that's really, I would say that these Awakenings are reserved for whales or the very lucky. If you have Soulstones, Soulstoning up to A3 is very cool. It's very hard to recommend Soulstoning nowadays with Ingrid existing, you know, because everyone should always have 3 just in case they get an Ingrid, right? Because Ingrid A3 You get it. He's insane. Let's wrap this thing up with the tiers. This will be very easy because they're all insanely high. He's one of our 5 SSS Lords. At any point on my tier list, 5 normal heroes and 5 Lords can have the SSS distinction. One of the Lords just lost its Soul Cadence. That was so Ingrid could enter. Valderon did not lose it. I can't imagine him losing it anytime soon. He is crazy SSS, so good. S+ and Guild Boss 1. It's not meta to run him or to run a chaotic team, but as I said, he's so good he can basically run on a separate team by himself. It's that potent. Guild Boss 2, he can solo APOC 1 actually pretty easily. And then for later runs, he's extremely strong. Probably gonna need a Carnelian if you're making a push beyond 50k on Apocalypse 2, but without a doubt, he's freakish. He is so good. Gear Raid 1, not meta at all, but again, with so many of these things, he's so strong that it just works. Same thing for Gear Raid 2. Gear Raid 3, this rating is only for him as a Lord, so if you're running like a Vargas or a Sargok or something, he can be relevant. If you're running maybe some reason you bring a Kata earlier on, right? This is just him as a Lord. He can also stand in front to tank damage, but he's not going to be a damage dealer, obviously. For Gear Raid 3, it's aerial units only. He cannot hit those. Gear Raid 4, this is as a Lord, but he's viable. I also say he's so tanky. I don't know if I showed you his HP. He can, because of his unkillable kind of component, the thing that happens from Carmen of the Fallen, with 29.5k base HP, one of the highest in the game, he can actually fully operate as a tank. Throw him in a Lunacy Visor. He will carry you to a point. Obviously, at some point, you would much rather, not run him, but if you need to run Chaos, you can. It's not meta for Gear Raid 4, but for a physical damage dealer, he has some niche viability. Gear Raid 5, he's unbelievable. Some of the best heroes we need, like Valeria, Ardia, they are chaotics. He's the Lord for them, and he can clear the whole left side by himself. It's pretty incredible. Probably actually by a mile the best AMR hero in the game. He can just like solo it. Void Rift, one of the best heroes in the game. Campaign, one of the best heroes in the game. Conqueror, I want to make a distinction. He is S+. I gave him S+ because you will see him on many top 50 teams in the world. However, he is actively worse than Gone. Without a doubt, Gone is the better choice here. So I just want to articulate that. However, I do feel like Gone, Valderon, and actually Morrigan need S+ as Lords for Conqueror, because those are the three main Lords that people will dominate the leaderboards with. But Gone is still the better option here, but Valderon's still extremely viable. You'll see some crazy teams. You can go look at the leaderboard right now. Styx, Chaos is not such a thing, but the damage is good enough that he has some viability, especially if you're earlier on and you just need top DPS units. AOF, this is just him as a Chaos unit. I almost want to even give him F because I don't want people to think they should use him here. But I mean, if you were desperate, he's not useless. That's why he gets a D. Guild Wars, very, very good. Not, again, on that total upper echelon. So not getting the S+, but still super, super good. Single target, the best hero in the game. I think no one's going to argue with that. And then AoE, one of the better heroes, and then pairs extremely well with some of the very best, like in Ardia right here. You get the picture, guys. Fantastic hero. This is the reason to summon, right? It is not Admiral Claw. It is Valderon. So let's answer the question, should you summon? Anyone, regardless of spender type. So free to play to Kraken. If you are not yet comfortably in that late game, maybe you have, if you haven't beaten all your 21s, or maybe you have like one left, if you're not moving that focus onto specifically, specific goals, get that 50k in Guild Boss 1 kind of thing, get that improvement in Guild Boss 2. He could actually help with all these things, but you know what I'm saying? You're really keyed in on these individual things, focusing on your gear dungeons. You're not at that point and you're like hunting for an Eloin, or I guess with these banners, you're like, I desperately need an Ingrid, or whatever it's going to be, right? If you're anywhere earlier than that, this is a must-pull banner, in my opinion. The risk is, we do know the new Ancient exclusive Nightmare Lord is coming. How soon, we don't know. I'd say the soonest would be 1 month. Realistically, I would guess 2 months from now, towards the end of October, around Halloween. And just based on power creep in this game, you'd expect that to be a top 5 Legendary Lord. That being said, you're not guaranteed to get that one, and you already have a top 5 Legendary Lord right here. So I think anyone besides that later part of the late game, when your focus really is like getting stage 10 on Gear Dungeon, those very specific Guild Boss 2 kind of things, maybe Epilogue, which I gotta say he's the best Epilogue hero in the game too. Should have mentioned that. You get my gist. Unless you feel like you're at the point where you need to target heroes and he's not a hero you want to specifically target, this is a must pull. Full stop. Now, if you're in that later part, the only time I wouldn't pull is if you're like a free-to-play, low spender, mid spender. I think all whales, krakens, and of course Sassy the dragon should be pulling if you don't have at least a 3. But if you're in that middle ground, right, free to play, low spender, mid spender, it's going to come down to the risk reward proposition. So someone like me, I actually don't know if I'm going to pull in this banner. I desperately want Valderon. He's probably maybe my second most wanted hero, maybe my most. However, for progressing through content, actually, as I say, I mean, I'm going to pull on this. I'm only going to have like 15 summons, but yes, I am going to pull on this. Who am I kidding? So even there, as I try to explain why someone like me might not want to do it, I will do it because he actually will help in all those key little things. Would like Praetus or Ingrid help me more? Sure, but like you can't sit around for that stuff. You have a definitive triple S right in front of you. I say go for it. I would say if you're very focused on like Guild Boss 2 and you're not a big spender, you kind of gotta hold off. You kind of gotta hold off for the Nightmare Lord. It's all a gamble though. I would say that'd be the kind of the one distinction. Or if you're completely invested in Guild Wars, he's not going to be your total Guild Wars hero, champion, master of the universe, the way an Ingrid or a Praetus would be. So that would kind of be the balancing proposition and the things to consider if you are on the fence and you're not anything like a big spender. And you also are well developed late into the game or in the end game. For me, I'll just say it. I am going to pull on him. It will come out to 20 summons tops. I'm at about 78 pity. That's probably the main reason I'm comfortable doing it. If I was at like 190 pity, I don't know if I would, because I do think the Nightmare Lord Gary is coming. I'm just calling him Gary. It actually looks like it's going to be a chick, but it should be coming soon. It's really a tough call. If you guys have any specific questions, let me know in the comments. But I truly think the vast majority of players should be going for it. I will say, and here's one other condition, if you have him, you don't need these awakenings. The A3 is crazy, but you're probably not going to get it if you're 99.9% of the player base. I would say if you have him, don't go crazy just because you want to pull and say, oh, I'm going to pull for dupes. As good as he is, wait. Wait till Ingrid comes back, or certainly wait till the Ancient Exclusive Nightmare Lord. Guys, that's been my spiel. I've been Fastidious. I've got to go to the gym. This was a long one to film. I've already streamed for 4 or 5 hours today. What a time to be alive. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel. Please let me know what you think in the comments. Share it with your mother, and I'll see you real soon. Bye.
Fastidious.